Well, hello everyone. Ooh, my hair looks bright today, doesn't it? I'm still not completely, whatchamacallit, over the COVID. So I'm using this excuse to look as sloppy as I want to look. I need some soda. I'm a little bit out of breath because I was running up and down stairs because I forgot after the shit I wanted to bring up in this show. We're going to have a bit of a longer intro, as we do. Some people really complain about that, about my show. Tough titty. My people, sorry, my people like it. But as always, I like to show you guys part of my t-shirt collection. End government, get it? Get it? Yeah, it's one of my favorite shirts, by the way. And I hate when I don't have my anarchy symbol out. How can I not have my anarchy symbol out? How can I be a suburban anarchist without my little anarchy symbol out? Okay, it's this cough. I forgot to take my cough medicine before the show, and this just ain't gonna work. So you guys get to watch me take some really disgusting medicine at this point. But there's no way I'm gonna make it through this show. So, any of you guys who have a gag reflex, like if you throw up, not that I'm going to throw up, but if you get all like gaggy seeing somebody else have to do something disgusting, turn away for a minute because this is gross. Oh, God, that is so nasty. Oh. Okay, but that'll keep me from coughing. Sorry about that. If any of y'all just threw up in your mouth a little bit, sorry, not sorry. Oh, that was terrible. But let me tell you something. Normally they put like flavoring in that cough syrup, like cherry or something. And when Wayne came home with this and it had no flavoring in it, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be even grosser. But...
Objection, speculative.
But it wasn't. It's actually better without the nasty flavoring in it. You know, I decided we were going to do... Oh, let's get prepared for the show, shall we? I'm the grand lobster. Now, I know anyone tuning in is going to be like, what's wrong with this chick now? When I was getting ready to do the show earlier today, I was like, hey, there's nothing else going on in the LNC list today. Let's do Nick's Lobster speech. But of course, John Phillips. It's like, you know, if y'all saw the cover image I had for the show I did the other day that said, we had low expectations of you, but holy duck. John has exceeded my lowest expectations. But we'll deal with that maybe in another show tonight because I'm sure they'll screw up tomorrow. I have to say this really, really clear because they love to twist things I say. I'm not a run to the courthouse type of person. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Have I ever sued anybody in my life? Probably not. Not big on that. I like handling my disputes. But these people on the LNC are recklessly and wantonly running the party into the ground. And I'm not so sure some of their acts would even be covered by their errors and omissions policy. And while I've said I personally never, ever, ever, ever would sue the party, and you can never say your opinion of what other people would do because you don't know what their circumstances are. But in general, I would look down upon anybody who did because that just hurts the members. Phillips and Adams and these folks, they're getting, in my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not doing the unauthorized practice of law here. In my personal opinion, they're getting very, very close to doing things that would make them be personally liable for how they're running this party into the ground. And if I were them, I'd get very concerned. because I wouldn't want to be on the hook personally. Because this motion that Phillips is making right now, whether or not you agree with it, in light of all the backroom shady slush fund bullshit that happened last week, and then their justification of convention revenues for just toning down the slush fund a little bit, knowing that this motion was coming, a very, very good case could be made for wanton bad faith and mishandling of party funds. That's all I have to say. Wilford is correct that it's out of order the way it was worded. Wilford reads my wall, and it's no coincidence. Now, it could be a coincidence here. I don't have a crystal ball. I always just find it funny that when I point out something, like 2 seconds later, all of a sudden he's pointing it out on the list. One of us is an actual parliamentarian, and it's not him. I still have a little bit of butthurt about the stolen valor that he claims. Being a member of the National Association of Parliamentarians and passing their membership exam, which is so easy that nearly any party member could pass it, does not make you a parliamentarian. Now, you don't have to be credentialed to be a parliamentarian. Richard Brown, who's been our convention parliamentarian for years, is an excellent parliamentarian. And for 2 out of the times he was our convention parliamentarian, he didn't have his credentials. So it's entirely possible to be a real parliamentarian without being credentialed. But you don't claim, oh, I'm a parliamentarian because I'm interested in the subject, which is great. I'm a member of NAP. Yeah, that just proves you have $110 of disposable income. And I passed the NAP membership exam, which means you know what a motion is. You know, it'd be like somebody, claiming to have served overseas, because they watched, Saving Private Ryan. Come on. But we're going to talk about that in another show. Richard, Phillips is making a motion that has the same effect as if not making the motion at all. Is basically it. He's basically doing the equivalent of moving that we continue to have a convention. Which is the exact same thing as not having a motion at all. And he claims this is how a parliamentarian told him to word it. Now, I don't know who told him to word it this way. I would love to know the name. I have a feeling it's a parliamentarian in the same way that John Wilford claims to be a parliamentarian, because I can't imagine any credentialed parliamentarian telling him to word a motion in that way unless you're buying your parliamentarians on Wish. I have a feeling if this is an actual credentialed parliamentarian, that he misunderstood them. He didn't give a name, so no one could know. But, you don't make a motion that is the exact same thing as not making the motion. That's like so basic. It's in the beginning of the fucking book. It's ridiculous. I know it wasn't you. And Richard Longstreth is arguing about it. Richard once used to be pretty decent at parliamentary procedure. I don't know what the hell happened to that guy. He also used to have morals. But let's continue now. So we'll talk about this at another time. We'll talk about the fact that the LNC just pulled a big bait and switch. You do not count on convention revenues and then purposely, because you already knew you were going to do it, 2 days later, make a motion that has the possibility of tanking the very revenues you used as justification for your slush fund. Not an attorney, but I've worked in insurance law, and that seems to be skirting the line very close to what an E&O policy would not cover if a party member decided enough is enough. And, of course, I always say to everybody, keep things out of court. I don't do that kind of thing. I don't recommend other people do that kind of thing. George Phillies once sued the party, and he became a pariah of the party for a long time because of that. Because, we should be able to handle our own problems. But I would tell you, if I were on that board right now, I would be tripping over my own feet to get it on the record that I did not agree with this course of action, because I would want to protect my personal assets. And I mean that both figuratively and literally. Like, they're playing a dangerous, dangerous game here. But that's not tonight's subject. Tonight's subject, we were just supposed to have like movie night. You like my lobster hat? Okay, so today we're going to watch Nick Sarwark's Lobster speech. But before we get there, let me do my grifting. Yes, Richard Brown, John Phillips' motion on the LNC list. We'll see how Whitney rules it. Phillips, just don't be a coward. Why don't you say what you want to say? What you're trying to do is move to cancel a contract. Just have the frickin' testicular fortitude to do it. Again, not the subject of this show, though, except for, boy, are they skirting their fiduciary duty. But today we are going to watch Nick Sarwark's Lobster speech. Let me do my grifting first, though. Thank you, everyone who has contributed toward helping me make up any shortfall I might have for supplies I need for Reno. I wanted to offer some of my supporters another opportunity. I want to thank Mike Seebeck for he's contributing some campaign swag. If there is swag that you guys think I should have, that you'd love to see me have, and you would like to purchase that for my table, I'm more than open to that. Get with me. I can get you whatever kind of graphics you need or anything like that. I like having a lot of swag, and I particularly like having swag that can help entertain kids. Like I had the Statue of Liberty crowns before, and the little kids really got a kick out of that. It was something for them to bring home as a souvenir that wasn't specifically branded, because I don't believe in politicizing little kids, but it was just Liberty kind of stuff. So things like that. There's some signs I need to get made. There's some flyers. So, and there was a guy in Texas who gave me his business card. He's a libertarian printer, and I can't find it now, if you can remember. Or if you are a libertarian printer who would like to donate some printing services, I would super, super appreciate it. Things are getting really, really close. But I want to show you something so sweet, okay? Where'd I put the box? Those of you who are longtime listeners will know, whoops, one of my claws got in my face. I sometimes talk about all kinds of trivia. Oh, and patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. James, I still have not updated my closing credits because I finally got through. Oh my God, I had so many emails. I'm still not done with the emails, but I'm almost there. But one of my friends online who met me at the Tom Woods 2000th episode, recalled that in one of my past episodes, and you guys might recall when I was just waxing about my childhood and just things that I liked, my fascination and deep abiding love for Mold-O-Rama machines. Now, I don't know how many of you grew up with those, but anyone who lived in a touristy town, you know Mold-O-Rama machines. You'll never forget the smell either of a Mold-O-Rama machine. And I am like dying again to find a Mold-O-Rama machine. So I want to, though, if I can, I don't know if I can get the sound to come through. I'd like to play a video, you guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about of what a Mold-A-Rama machine is. Let me see if I can share this screen. I had no intentions of doing this. Let me hide the chat here for a second. I could have planned this better. But let's and let me get the sound levels up, because I remember last time I tried to play a video, it wouldn't.
Objection, speculative.
It wouldn't play the sound effects. I was just checking that. So let me do my share screen here, and let's see if we could watch a Mold-A-Rama video. You guys will have to let me know if you get sound or not.
Introducing Apple Business Essentials.
I gotta skip the
it's
ad
one
in a
complete
moment.
subscription that makes IT easy.
Okay,
Apple
come
Business
on,
Essentials.
Come on.
Start your free trial
I don't have
now.
my YouTube Premium ad signed in.
This is my childhood coming back. So this is called the Mold-A-Rama. What are you doing? This is called the Mold-A-Rama. And I'm gonna make myself a Triceratops. This is an injection molding machine. There's the mold on one side, there's the other. And then I'm assuming that the plastic either comes in from the bottom or that device up there. I'm not really sure.
Except for air. It makes sense that it would come like this.
I think that's the air. That's the air that activates the piston.
True. So it's over here.
Let's see, let's do this.
This looks like a heated hose.
All right, hold on.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Oh, no, take my money.
Wow, $2.
All right,
I
take
remember
the
when they
money.
were 50 cents.
Nice. I can't tell you guys how excited I am about this.
I would be too. I want to go. I
Oh,
want
there
to
we
go
go.
do a
Okay,
Mold-A-Rama.
let's do it. Come on, let's watch. Come on. You guys not gonna watch?
It's always been more of a smell experience. Look at the picture.
Oh, so the plastic is coming from the bottom. That thing up top's gonna scrape it off, isn't it?
Okay. Well, now you guys got just a little bit idea. If you that might jog some memories as to what a Mold-A-Rama machine was. I grew up in South Florida, where there were just tourist attractions everywhere, and every tourist attraction had a Mold-A-Rama machine when I was growing up. So it's like huge nostalgia for me. And any of you guys who have ever been around those, you never forget the smell. The smell is glorious. Well, I mentioned this a couple of years ago, and Evie, who is such a sweetheart that I met at the 2000th Tom Woods episode, heard I was sick. She heard I was sick, so she sent me a box. Oh my God, this is one of the sweetest things that anyone's ever done for me. She sent me a box of some of her Mold-A-Rama collection, and I want to share it with you guys. These are definitely going to be treasured, because I don't have any of them left from when I was a kid, because I was one of those kids who inevitably on the car ride home would bite it. I don't know why. I always felt like, oh, this feels like, those wax gums or something. And I would always bite it, and it was terrible. Don't ever bite into a Mold-A-Rama figurine. It's nasty, but I am one of those kids that bit it. But I want to show you the Mold-A-Ramas she sent me. Okay, the first one is a buffalo, and this is from the Brookfield Zoo, and it says since 1966. So I don't know when this was made, but so the zoo, they did the buffalo, because it comes in all different kinds. And there are people who actually have collections of hundreds of these. And then this one I used to have, probably from a different place. This is also from the Brookfield Zoo. So all of mine would have been from Florida. But I used to have this guy, the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil monkeys. Okay. But here's my favorite, the pink dinosaur. I wonder if these are all from the Brookfield Zoo. It's Stegosaurus, it just says. It doesn't say where this one is from. There's a bunch in here, so we're going to check out the skull. Like most of these, I've never seen. This one doesn't say where it's from. Most of them usually do say where they're from, because it's advertising the tourist attraction. Whoops, sorry. And it seems like a lot of these are very Halloween themed, so maybe from haunted houses. So here is Frankenstein. And then here's another from the Brookfield Zoo. Roar. And oh my God, another one from the Brookfield Zoo. Most of these are from the zoo. Isn't that seal cute? This is like one you'd get at SeaWorld. And at first, I thought this one might be from Florida because dolphin ones were so common in Florida, but this was also the Brookfield Zoo. But look at, excuse me, the vibrant blue of that one. And these are all in just such great condition. And then this is like holiday cherub singing. Like some of these, this is also, most of these are Brookfield Zoo. And then we got a devil. But check out the smiling face on this devil. And her long live Harambe. Harambe. We salute you. This isn't actually Harambe, but that's who it'll always be to me. I know, doesn't it make you want to bite them? There's just something about them that makes you want to bite them. And that's why I still don't have any of mine, because I bit them all. And check out this. This is the last one. This is also Brookfield Zoo. A polar bear. When I find a working Mold-A-Rama machine, I will video it and put it on this station. But this is one of the coolest things that anyone's ever done. The fact that she remembered that I even brought this up and then parted with some of her collection. And Wayne, who already knows I'm a pack rat, he's like, I suppose you're going to want a shelf for those. I'm like, I certainly am. Okay, so now that we did the... oh, I shouldn't put my... Ow! Frick! Oh, I have a heater here, and I stuck my wine glass in front of the heater, and boy, did that get hot. My wine got a little hot. All right, so now we're going to go do the Nick video. And I want to set it up a bit. It was a keynote speech he gave at Colorado, but Colorado's not the only place he gave it. Yeah, there is a Mold-A-Rama locator and Animus, and when I do go to different towns, I try to find some place to them because I'm like fascinated. I want one at my house. Like, I just freaking that, and I did have a Galaga machine for a while, by the way. Don't be jealous, but I want a Mold-A-Rama machine and a Galaga machine in my basement. So Nick gave this keynote. I call it his lobster speech. I don't know what he called it, but lobsters figure prominently in it, and this is way before Jordan Peterson made lobsters a thing. And he gave this isn't a slam on Nick. When you do the convention circuit, you kind of give the same, when you're a typical keynote speaker, you kind of give the same speech that season. Like, I gave my statement of principles speech probably 15 times. I gave my humanitarian responsibility of freedom speech multiple times. That's just what you do. So this isn't ragging on Nick. It's just that because I was also doing the convention circuit that year, I heard this frickin' lobster speech so many times, I wanted to puke up raw lobster. Particularly because I hated it. Why did I hate it? Because Nick's point in it, which didn't age well, was, and this is where the background comes in. Now, perhaps my memory might be a little wrong. Let me warn you, I didn't rewatch this first. We're going to be watching this together. I haven't seen this in 3-4 years. So maybe my memory of it is wrong. Maybe it's not as hateful. And when I say hateful, I don't mean he was speaking hatefully. I mean, maybe it's not as bad as I remember it, okay? So I figured we'd have fun watching it together, not the whole thing, only the lobster part, because it's an hour long, and it's only the first part, if I remember correctly, that was about the lobsters. And the whole point was, this is in 2017, after Johnson and fuck Bill Weld. And a lot of libertarians were very, very concerned that people were coming into the party that were semi-libertarian. That were basically Bill Weld libertarians. Now remember, Nick will send out these defamatory letters about actual hardcore libertarians. In the meantime, he calls Bill Weld the OG libertarian and thinks he's just the epitome of being a libertarian, even though Bill Weld lied his ass off to the convention delegates. Nick still continued to defend him. So the background of this speech is Nick, and at this time in 2017, Nick was at his peak. I know some people do not want to believe that Nick was ever a good chair of this party. You don't have to agree with me. But in my opinion, Nick is both the best chair and the worst chair this party has ever had. But this was at the time when I would have considered Nick one of the best chairs this party has ever had. Now, when it comes to, and when I say that, I mean elected chair. When it comes to people who didn't get their position through election, I think Whitney's actually worse than Nick at his worst. But Whitney wasn't elected by the delegates. She was elected by a corrupt LNC, so what do you expect? As far as being elected by the delegates, Nick was both the worst and the best. And the time we're going to watch him here, he was at his peak. Nick was super popular. I know some people don't like to hear that, but Nick was an immensely popular chair. And I think that's part of why he's so psychotic right now, is because I don't think he understands where he went wrong. Like, it's hard to go from the pinnacle of being like the hero of the LP to getting NODA'd in New Hampshire. Like, it's hard to go from being hero to zero. And I don't think he even yet understands how that happened and how it's his own fault. But this is 2017, when Nick was at his height. And I had a lot of respect for Nick back then. I hated the speech, but I had a lot of respect for Nick back then. If I didn't respect him, I wouldn't care that he gave a speech I hated. And the whole point of the speech was, you guys, we got in a lot of new people in the party due to the success of the Johnson-Weld campaign. And while these people might not be, quote-unquote, perfect libertarians, you old-timers, you purists, you're just going to have to deal with it, Buttercup, because this is the future of the party. The party is who shows up, and this is who's showing up, basically. Where he's trying to be a good leader, though he is being his snark-warkian self, but that's just how Nick is. And just basically telling us we have to suck it up and accept that types like Bill Weld are the future of the party. And the reason I say this didn't age well, because ain't it funny what a different story he tells now. So I guess we've got to be like the Lobsters, and we've got to suck it up, Buttercup, as long as it's somebody that Nick approves of. But when it's someone Nick doesn't approve of, all of a sudden, fuck the Lobsters, man. So, if my memory is correct, but let's watch this. And I'll be starting and stopping so that it's commentary. So I'm not going to get copyright struck because the copyright's owned by the Libertarian Party of Colorado. But this is to be a commentary. And I would love to see y'all's comments. I'm going to try to keep comments on the screen because I don't think you need to see him full screen to get the full effect. Let's see. I have the file downloaded, but I might need to move things around on the screen a little bit here. So bear with me a little. So choose file, download, keynote speech, Nick Sarwark.
Thank you for inviting me back to Colorado. I said this last night to those of you who were there, but this is a place that to me feels like home. I have really good memories of Colorado, and if I was not contractually obligated to say that I want to stay in Phoenix for the rest of my life, for at least 2 terms as mayor, if I had to choose somewhere else, it would be here. I definitely don't tell that to other states at their conventions. Definitely don't go there to find out whether that's true. So I want to start by talking to
Okay,
you.
let's stop here. You can see my pink head right there in the front. I miss that color. Hold on, I want to compare. Because that was atomic pink, which they don't make anymore. I don't know. I might like this color better. What do you think? Actually, that wasn't atomic pink. That was 27. No, that was atomic pink. But they don't make that color anymore. But you see my pink hair sitting right up front there. Yeah, he jokes about pandering, which is funny. But let's be really fair here. Nick is a good, at least he was then. He's kind of creeps me out lately because his personality has changed a bit. Even his his cadence of speaking is different. Like, this is what makes me think, did I accidentally turn everything salmon at the convention in 2020? I might have. My hair tends to leak everywhere. But, so, Nick is a very engaging, friendly speaker. At least he was then. But, yeah, joking about pandering starting right off.
Now, lobsters. Because
Lobsters.
there was a really cool video I watched online. I actually made Larry watch it, super nerd, by Rabbi Abraham Tversky. And he talks about how he's in a dentist's office, he's reading about lobsters. He's waiting in a dentist's office, so why not read the article about lobsters? Lobsters, when they grow, they're a soft, squishy fish that lives inside a hard shell. And lobsters, as they grow, they start to feel pain. They start to feel stressed. They start to feel constrained and they hurt. When they feel this, they go under a rock where the other fish can't get them, and they take off that shell. They break out of that shell, and they grow a new shell. And the new shell is also hard and stiff, and as the lobster gets bigger, they go back under the rock, they build a new shell. Now, what's the point about this? Who cares about lobsters? The point is, if they didn't have that pain, that stress of growing, they would never get any bigger. They would never grow.
Okay, do you see where he's getting with this? So, I mean, he'll explain it, obviously, but I think you see where he's going. We as a party are growing, and we have to be like the lobster. We understand it hurts to have all these semi-libertarians flood the party, but we're getting bigger, and we're growing out of our lobsterish shell, and you gotta get with the program, people. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how he doesn't think that now?
Without the pain and the stress. Without that signal that there's something to overcome, there's something to break out of, they can never get any bigger. And he finishes up by saying, if lobsters had doctors, they never grow. Because they go in, say hurt, doctor be like, here's a Valium, a couple Percocet, don't worry about it. And we're like, feel fine now. They stay small. Y'all are lobsters. We are lobsters. We're just a happy crew of lobsters. What I mean by this, we were talking about this at the table. The Libertarian Party is 43 years old? No, 49 years old. Something like that?
He was very
71,
sick this
49.
day, by the way. That's why his voice sounds so raspy.
The fact that a room full of libertarians can't agree on how old the party is just makes a point that I wasn't even trying to make. 47, there we go. All right, he spoke with authority. I have to believe him. We got here by not quitting. We got here by never giving up. We got here by being such passionate, true believers in the Libertarian Party and the Libertarian principles that nothing could dissuade us from moving forward. And if you look around the room, there are a lot of new people here, and there are a lot of old people here. The people who've been around for 20 or 30 or 40 years have seen things that you wouldn't believe. They've been through struggles that you wouldn't understand.
They've seen things like a current sitting chair of the LNC going up to a mic at a convention and saying, "Eat a dick."
They care very deeply about this party. They've built something special, and we are all honored to be a part of it. That has sustained us and brought us to this moment. That commitment, that sense of true believership, that almost religious fervor about what it means to be a libertarian. And that's not good enough anymore.
Oh, Nick, unless it's people you don't like. No, are you starting to understand why why I'm saying this came out of the "that didn't age well" file?
And that is scary.
Are you scared, Nick?
Who got us to this point. There is a real fear that there are people who are going to come into this party after the last presidential election or the one before it or the next one.
The next one, huh, Nick? Are you saying there's going to be people scared of certain new people?
After they get tired of, whoever the president is now and whatever crazy things their old party has done, they're going to come over and they'll tell you, they're like, we want them to come over, but they're not going to be like us.
Nick, if only... hypocrisy. Thy name is Nick Sarwark.
They're going to be different from us. And there's a fear that they're going to come in and they're going to change it. They're going to change this beautiful thing that we spent decades of our lives. We gave up hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. We gave up time with our families. They're going to make it different. They're going to hurt the thing that I love. That's the pain. That's the pain. We tripled the vote totals in 2016. And there are still people in the party who are mad about that.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. That is not why people were mad. I could tell you a way that we could 100-fold get more votes. Let's just nominate Trump next time. He's hugely popular. We could have the highest vote totals that the Libertarian Party ever had. So tell the truth, Pinocchio. People were not mad because we got good vote totals. People were mad because we dropped our knickers like a cheap whore.
All of the people that came in 2016 that are not real libertarians, they don't really believe, they're just washed up Republicans, they're never Trumpers, they're...
Wait, I thought that's a bad thing, Nick. Are you defending that back then when it benefited you? I once told you guys, well, I've said this about Nick before, so this isn't a new opinion. Even when I liked the guy and had a lot of respect for him, I always knew what he was. And what he is a politician. And I never use that word in a complimentary sense. So, just so you know, when I call somebody a politician, I don't mean it as a compliment. When I first set up my public figure page on Facebook, they first shoved it automatically under the category of politician, and I nearly vomited my large intestine out my nostrils. Can you vomit out your nostrils? And I don't on my Wikipedia page they call me a politician, but as much as I can avoid it, I reserve the word politician. Politician and cockroach are basically synonymous to me. And Dave, when it comes to Gary Johnson, I got the hugest crush on him. So you won't ever hear me say anything bad about Gary Johnson because I think he is so freaking adorable.
Burnt out Bernie Kratz, they're whatever they are. What they are not is us. They are them. That's the growth. We're too big for the shell. It hurts. So we can do one of two things. We can decide that we don't want to grow beyond our comfort zone.
And we can send out defamatory letters under the silliest name ever of the Libertarian Defense Fund and ruin our entire legacy and reputation. Or what else can we do, Nick?
A Valium or a Percocet or a Ron Paul or a podcast or, go back and reread Bastiat or do whatever we do to feel good, scream taxation is theft, have a slogan, whatever. You can do that. That is a path. And there are people who want to go down it. We can break our shell. We can realize that we are at an inflection point as a party. This is the point at which we stop being on the outside looking in to politics and we start driving the debate.
Funny thing is, Nick was right. He was just 2 years too early, and now it's not him controlling things the way he wished. And he's lashing out like an injured, I come up with the weirdest analogies sometimes, so I'm just not even gonna, I was gonna say injured aardvark. I know that didn't even make any sense, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. But back then, he thought he was king of the hill. Now, he's the type of caricature of person he's preaching at. He's the one kicking against the goads of party growth. He's the one who doesn't want us to actually make some successes.
An opportunity to drive the debate. It's an opportunity that's not entirely of our own making. It's always good to recognize luck. The biggest complaint I hear from major donors who have not traditionally supported the Libertarian Party, while they may have supported libertarian institutions, is neither the Republicans nor the Democrats believe their own stuff anymore. They don't stand for what they say they stand for. They are, to be really blunt and short, lying. That bothers people. If you were in the talk earlier today, Dr. Phillies talked about Overton windows, about how there's an Overton window of trust, that you have to be trusted in order to be voted for. The Republicans and Democrats are busy moving themselves out of the trust Overton window.
Just like the current LNC. Even people who disagree with me on a ton of issues, we are all united in our absolute distrust of this LNC.
They're moving themselves to a place where no one will vote for them anymore because they are liars. We can't control how long they do this, by the way. They'll do it for as long as they do it until they start feeling some pain and either grow or die.
Reno reset, baby.
But we can take advantage of it, which means we need to, as a party, be welcoming to people whose agreement with the Libertarian Party is limited to, there's an issue that I feel strongly about, that neither the Republicans nor the Democrats are going to do anything about. You guys have the right position on that issue, and you guys are trusted. Because while we're small...
Wait, that's not what you're saying now, Mr. Sarwark. The hypocrisy is just unreal, and I'm deeply offended by the fact that he's wearing a pink tie.
Nobody thinks we're not serious. There's not a person in politics, Republican, Democrat, mainstream, fringe, whatever, that thinks we're not serious about libertarianism.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of people who think we're not serious about libertarianism, Nick. That's some hell of a drug you're taking there.
They know we're dead serious. You don't go into political battle over and over and over and over again and not get the seat and come back and do it again and again and again and again and again until you win if you're not serious.
There's
They may
other
think we're dumb.
motivations.
As Larry says, they might be right, but they know we're serious. So we have to take these people whose only point of agreement is on one issue that we're right on, the old parties are wrong on, and we have to welcome them into our family.
Nick. Can past Nick have a talk with future Nick? Because, sing with me, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things is not the same.
We have to let them be part of our club. We cannot tell them, you can't come in unless you want to legalize drugs, because everyone has a moral, natural right to put whatever they want into their own body. You have to want it for that reason. You have to want it for that reason. You cannot want it because it criminalizes an entire generation of African American men. That's not acceptable. That's collectivism. That's not allowed. You can't want that racist war on drugs to end just because it's racist. You have to do it for natural rights reasons. You can't want it because it's ineffective, and even though you'd love to prohibit drugs, you recognize it's a waste of law enforcement resources. That's not okay. You have to want it for natural rights reasons. If we eliminate people because they don't agree on the why, but they agree on the how, then we have given up free work. And as a business owner and a candidate and a political party chair,
None of which you are now, oddly enough. Noda.
I try to never give up free work. When people want to help you, be good to them.
Oh my God.
Objection, speculative.
Oh, Nick. This did not age well for you, my dear. This did not age well for you at all.
This thing you can do to someone who wants to help you is let them help you. I didn't understand this for a very long time.
And you don't understand it
I'm not used
now.
to being in charge of stuff. And I resisted for a very long time letting somebody give me a ride, letting somebody answer some phone calls for me, letting somebody write things for me, letting somebody do stuff. And I don't remember who I read it from, but if somebody offers to do you a favor, they offer to do you a kindness, they invite you to their home for dinner, they offer to host a fundraiser, if they offer to do something for you, they want to help you. People don't offer to do stuff for you if they don't want to help you. And if you deny them the opportunity to do somebody that they want to help a kindness, you're hurting them. You're denying them the good feelings you get when you help somebody else. And one of the things that you realize...
Nah, I think you should just throw them all out of the party for signing a petition, which you're defending, Nick. What happened? Okay, what I want to know is, like, was he just a liar then, or is he a liar now? Or are the two not mutually exclusive? He just always lies?
When you're on a mission, as we are all on a mission, when, as Larry says, we're on a passion project, when we are literally fighting for a better world for our children and our grandchildren, is this is an incredibly important thing that we do, and it is incredibly kind to other people to offer them the opportunity to help us do this. And whether that opportunity is with their time, whether it's them standing up to be candidates, as I'm sure pretty much everybody in this room is going to do, otherwise Joe's going to follow you home, or if it's taking some of the resources that they've been blessed with and providing them to us to allow us to do the work, it is unkind to them not to ask. It's unkind. Because you're saying...
Now I want to know what suit I was wearing. I don't recognize that suit.
This. By the way, I haven't looked at those notes in a long time. We're for a wild ride. If your kid had some sort of terrible disease, and money was the object, and it was money, you couldn't afford the treatment.
Okay.
Is there a single person in this room that you wouldn't ask to help save your child's life? A single one.
We got past the lobster part that I really wanted to talk about, but I figured we might as well just listen to the whole speech. The part I really wanted to cover was in the beginning, because that certainly didn't age well, because I guess Nick doesn't think now we need to grow a bigger shell and bring in bigger people when it's people that he doesn't like. There's something, I'm not going to say I've never changed my mind on anything, because obviously there are things that I have. It's usually a very slow change, though. But there's something that's super scary about me. You can find something, you could find a clip of me talking in 2017 and compare it to a clip of me talking now, and it's pretty much the same damn thing. I am so consistent, it is fucking scary.
Where you wouldn't say, you know, my kid's gonna die if they don't get this treatment and I don't have that much money. Is there anyone you wouldn't ask in this room to help your child? Anyone? No, of course not. If you believe, as I believe, that the country is moving in a wrong direction, that it's moving away from the principles on which it was founded, it's moving in a direction towards more government control and less individual freedom for all of us to raise our families and find our happiness. That is a critical disease.
His lobster speech is way different than Jordan Peterson's, for sure.
And one of the treatments requires money. And I have no qualms about asking every one of you in the room to give, and give quite a bit, to save it, any more than I would if it was my own child. So give money. Next time I ask you, not tonight. No, give it tonight. Fine, give it tonight, if you must. I can't be unkind to you and not let you if you want to. So welcome new people. We have to be welcoming. We have been not welcoming for too long. We have had a tendency to kind of corner new people and go down our laundry list and find the thing that they don't agree with us on, and then beat them up for an hour about the thing they don't agree with us on, find out that they still don't agree with us because they weren't persuaded by being yelled at for some reason. Yeah. Say, you know what, you sound like you're not really libertarian. This is probably not the right place for you. You should leave. Believe it or not, most people, if you invite them to leave, they will go, and they will be off the path. There's this whole concept of a path. Most of us were not fully sprung, formed from our mother's womb as 100 Nolan chart libertarians. Most of us. Some of us, I know. You're special. We all came down a path. I was talking to Betty Rose. She had major differences with the Libertarian Party platform from 1979 to 1994. That's a lot of years to be wrong about something. And if too many people, if people she cared about had confronted her in the years between 79 and 94 board and said, if you don't agree with the party on borders, you're not a libertarian, you should go.
Wait a minute. Is Nick saying that it's okay not to be open borders? Now, I'm open borders, but I keep hearing about how terrible, awful, racist that the Mises Caucus people are, that some of them at least are, because they're not open borders. You fucking barking moonbat hypocrite, Nick. I put up on the screen, because I do have to do my shameless grifting and work that stripper pole. I'm going to have to wipe off this little mic thing now. Listen, this shit just comes spontaneously. I did put, because right now, though I'll take a super chat. Don't get me wrong. Mama has no shame. Mama works for her money. But in order for me to be able to use for campaign funds for Reno, Google, there's a delay in their payout. It'll be too late. Super chats will just go to normal things, but I'm still trying to raise money for things I need for Reno. So I put at the screen Venmo. I know a lot of people are not wanting to use GoFundMe lately. I do log all the donations in GoFundMe so you can see my running total there. But Venmo, which is at Karen-Harlos, I'd really, really appreciate it. Every penny counts, and any of my donors can see my campaign accountability spreadsheet so you can see how I've spent all of my donated money. So since I found this gem for you of Nick just being the biggest hypocrite of all times, come on, that's worth a couple bucks. You got to admit it. I know I'm just shamelessly whoring right now. But yeah, anyway, let's continue.
At some point, she would probably go. And then we wouldn't have Betty Rose, and then all of you who were in Orlando in 2016 wouldn't have had that convention.
Photo
that
bomb.
was the most successful convention in National Party history. And it would not have happened without her. And she would have not have been there to do that if someone along the way had knocked her off the path. Every one of you is incredibly powerful in your ability to either grow new libertarians into new leaders and activists and candidates, and hopefully at some point, National Party chairman, so that I can have a rest.
Oh, you did. We were able to get rid of you easy,
You have
dude.
the power to knock them off the path and make them leave. Use that power wisely, because there's a lot of work to be done and not enough hands to do it. There's a reason that I chose the goal of 2,000 candidates nationwide. One, I like round numbers. Two, it's well beyond what we've done historically. Well beyond. 2.7 times, call it 3 times just for the hell of it. What that means, get you into my crafty little devious strategy mind.
You're not quite
It
as
means
crafty
that
or
you cannot
devious as you
achieve
think
the
you are.
goal
You're pretty fucking
with the existing resources and activists that
You're
we
not
have.
the 5D chess player you
It is
think you
not
are, dude.
possible to grow from an average of 600, 650 candidates in midterm to 2,000 candidates with all the same people who are already involved in the party. It's fundamentally not possible. It's a logistical problem. It's math. Which
Math
means
is hard.
every one of you, everyone on our staff that is tasked with
I
this
think
project,
Harambe's
every
gonna stay
state
right
chair
here in
and
the
state
studio
political
with me.
director has the job of going down registered voter lists and databases, getting on the phone, and talking to people who have never been directly involved with the party beyond signing a form to say I'm a libertarian registered voter, or beyond signing up for a National Party newsletter or LP News. You have to reach out to them to get them to run for office, to get them to be campaign managers, to get them to be treasurers, to get them to help keep our candidates out of prison for campaign finance violations, to get them to knock on doors. You need them. You have to break the shell. You have to do it. I can't do it. barely handle my children. But I need help, is the point.
You need lots of help.
My wife handles quite a bit, and if I didn't have her, I would probably be much crazier than I am. I chose that goal for that reason, because it requires growth. So we might fail, but we'll at least try hard.
You are a tryhard, I'll give you that.
That requires welcoming people that we haven't traditionally been welcoming to.
You mean like the
There
Mises
are not a lot of
Caucus?
people of color in the room. I know we've been doing panels on it, we've been getting better on it, but we're not as good as we could be. We can always try and do better. It's something we need to try and do better. And the way you do that is you go into communities, you go into neighborhoods, you run for office, you knock on doors, and you ask them, what is important to you? And you listen, and you listen, and you listen, and you listen.
You mean the way you
don't
listen to
fight.
Maj Touré?
And if there is a libertarian solution to the thing that's important to them, you talk about that.
You mean like the way you
You say,
listen
"This
to
is
Eric
something that I
July?
want to do if I'm elected to work on that issue that's a
Oh,
big issue
they
in
weren't
this
the right
community.
kind of
It's not my
black
community.
people.
I'm
I
not gonna
got it.
pretend it's my community. Can't pretend. You have to be you. But you can, by just the fact of going out and listening and caring about what they care about, is an incredibly powerful tool. If you listen to people, everyone's your friend. People think the best conversationalists are the people who actually say the least words. Let other people talk. Everyone loves to talk about themselves.
Of course you do, Nick.
How many people in this room came to the Libertarian Party because of guns? Show of hands. One. Just one? Colorado, you're disappointing me. How many because of taxes? Oh, some people care about money. How many people because of homeschooling or, anti-schooling or
Fun fact, Nick will lie and say he didn't tell me this, or maybe he wouldn't. He's lied about so many things that he said to me and then later denied it. But Nick told me he doesn't really care about taxes. So all of those rah-rah things he does on stage, that he loved to get all the applause and the adulation of men, and the Bible has something to say about that, where, dear Mr. Chair, point of parliamentary inquiry, is taxation theft? Well, Nick told me that he really doesn't care about taxation, and if we could get to a flat tax rate of just 10% across the board, he wouldn't care. That would be fine with him, and he'd never talk about taxation again. So, just so you know, he thinks it's fine to steal from you, as long as it's just 10%. I guess it's like the tithe to the government.
your kids out of government schools or getting the government out of education? Good, quite a few, got it, okay. Here's what I'm going to tell you. All of you came for the right reason, and nobody cares what your reason is. I mean, I care, obviously. Very empathetic person.
And very humble,
The
too.
important thing is the person who's out in that hallway, who works for the hotel, who doesn't identify as libertarian today, who's overheard snippets of conversation during the convention. It's what thing did they hear that resonated with them? What thing mattered to them enough that they came up to one of you and said, that's an interesting convention, what are you guys all about? That is the most important issue today, at that moment, in that conversation. So you need to learn this talent of forgetting about what's important to you.
Oh my God, I forgot
when
how
you're talking to
long-winded
new
he
people.
is. This
and
is a long
listening to what's
speech, but we
important to
do
them.
need to listen to it because we'll get some gems
Because
from
then
it.
they'll come
If some
along,
of you drop
and
off,
then
I get it because we did the.
At some point in
Ooh,
the future,
who is
at the
that?
next year's convention, when they're sitting at a table because they bought a ticket, because they're now engaged, involved, and
We might as well
interacting over a drink,
just power
you
all
can
the
talk
way
to them
through
about
this cringe.
Homeschooling, and they'll listen to you. Or you can talk to them about guns, and they'll listen to you. Or you can talk to them about taxes, and they'll listen to you. Because they care about you now. Because you listen to them. I want to talk about people in the Libertarian Party, especially people that may make you upset or angry, or you may think are counterproductive, or wrong or maybe should shut their mouths.
Or are raised.
Be the face of things. Pick your thing. Does anyone ever watch cop shows?
Oh, God, no.
Okay, good. Everybody knows about good cop, bad cop, right? It's a standard plot trope. Good cop, bad cop, good cop, bad cop, good cop, bad cop. Do you know why they don't do cop shows with good cop, good cop? It's boring. You might not be able to find two good cops. That's a dig. I didn't say that. I heard it. Womp womp. Hey, Tony's right there. And he must know somebody like you.
Rearranging my claws.
Do you know why they don't do bad cop, bad cop? Not so much boring. Very exciting. Very short period of time. Dead suspect. Very quickly. Very quickly. Bad cop just goes into a backyard and guns somebody down holding a cell phone. But they don't put it on TV because it's not entertaining. So see, I'm still right. You do good cop, bad cop because of the contrast. The contrast is what gets suspects to talk in the police procedural, right? Bad cop comes in, starts throwing around rubber hoses, starts beating phone books, starts slamming doors, talks about how this guy's going upriver and he's never getting out and blah, 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 blah. Well, good cop comes in with a cup of coffee. It's like, hey, you look like you could use a cup of coffee. Do you smoke? We can go outside. You can smoke a cigarette. Between the two of them, in at least the police interrogations I've watched in defending people accused of crimes, they often extract confessions out of people who didn't want to confess because of the contrast. We also have good cops and bad cops. We have people that go out and protest in the streets about gun rights, about homeschooling, about whatever. They go out and they take very bold positions that get in people's faces, and they talk about no compromise and macho flash and all of this stuff that makes people mad and makes them angry and makes them get on Facebook and makes them go write to people and say angry letters and all this stuff.
Angry letters. Sorry. Angry letters, you say, Nick. Tell me all about it, Mr. Sarwark.
It really turns people off, and they're like, oh, I can't believe he said that thing. That's terrible. That's what opens people up to good cops who come in and say,
Wait a minute. Is he making the argument that that's what edgy tweets do? Nick, I didn't know you were such a fan of that. Be still my heart.
you know, I'm a former governor of a western state, and I worked with parties, I worked with people on all parts of the political spectrum. We were able to make a lot more freedom without doing anything nuts or not doing anything crazy, and we can address some of the issues that you have in a way that's not like that crazy guy. I'm not that guy. That guy, obviously, he's... But, I really care about my community and my kids, and I'm a small business owner, and I want to try and do what I can to move us into a direction that gives you more power over your own life. How about you sign my petition? How about you vote for me? How about you give me some money? You can't have the good cops without the bad cops, and you can't have the bad cops without the good cops.
It seems Nick is making... Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't really care what your opinion is of this particular individual. I don't get into this kind of shit. It's not my business. But it seems like Nick is making the argument for Jeremy Kaufman.
A lot of favors if we would spend less time trying to figure out which one of them we're going to kick out of the party and not talk about the stuff that isn't our sort of...
Okay, Kathy. Your and I experiences in Pennsylvania with drunk Nick, I think, have given me PTSD. Something I've never talked about on the show, and I never will. because it delves into personal matters, not between you and I. We were just unwilling observers. That I just don't do that. But all I can tell you is I'm traumatized. I'm traumatized by that whole experience.
And go say, I didn't say that. This is what I think about that issue. I'm so glad that because you're so mad about this other thing that you started a conversation with me because I have a different perspective on it. Let's talk about that. Or the people who look at somebody like Senator Epke, because she's here, and say,
sorry. Hold on. Okay, I feel better.
That's not even libertarian. That's like barely tinkering around the edges. Like, there is a radical caucus. They have a lot of candidates who want to just burn the thing down. And you're welcome in this party too. Maybe.
Yeah, but you're not if you're Mises caucus. Nick, I would love to see you explain yourself, Lucy, because this is not the same man. Were you lying then, or are you lying now, or are you just a liar? Lie like a rug.
She's not the one you want to support. Maybe you don't canvass for her. That's fine. But it's that ability to not have to have an opinion on everything. So you'll say, that's not the great
Nick,
phrase
you
somebody
don't
once
know what
taught
it's
me.
like not to have an opinion on
That's
everything.
the kind of thing you like, if you like that kind of thing. That's how I feel about certain kinds of music, certain kinds of movies, certain books. It works for other people. Not me so much, but if you're happy, I'm happy. We're all happy. Everybody's valuable in this party.
He was putting on
And those
such a
complementary
mask.
strategies, you don't have the success of Martin Luther King
So many people.
without the implied, implicit, and sometimes actual violence of Malcolm X. They don't work without each other. You don't have Gandhi without the real riots and sometimes terrorism in the struggle for Indian independence. You have to have both. You have to have moral
Is he
authority.
saying-
You have to have the threat
Wait,
of.
Is he saying actual
crazy
violence
stuff
is
going down, too.
necessary?
Those are the two pieces of the puzzle. One of the things about libertarian politics that makes it so easy to fight against the two old parties is, as a fundamental idea of political economy, politics is about having the power to control other people's lives. That is politics. Politics is about who's in charge over everybody else. And that's why it gets so dirty and nasty, is that Republicans want to be in charge so that they can say, you can do this and this and this, but you can't do this other thing. Democrats want to be in charge so they can say, no, you can do this, this, and this, you can't do those things. All of them want to be in charge to be like, give me your money, I know how to spend it better than you ever will. Libertarian politics is anti-politics. It's fundamentally different because on the spectrum from individual
I'm really hungry.
freedom,
Excuse me.
you get to run your own life.
I'm really hungry for some lobster right now. Is anyone else? I apologize to all the vegans in here. As long as you're not like gone completely out of your tree, Adam Kokesh vegan, like I respect your point of view. But my point of view right now is I'd like some lobster.
To government control, somebody else gets to run your life. We want to move towards individual freedom on every issue all the time. No exceptions, no backing off, no special favors, no special pleading.
You mean except for Nick when you refused to defend the baker in Colorado who didn't want to bake the cake? You mean like that? That's one of the first fights I ever got in with Nick Sarwark. And here's where there's a guy named Mark Montoni out of Colorado. He used to be out of Virginia. He's been in the party over 30 years. He's running for the Judicial Committee. If you're going to Reno, one of the best decisions you could make, besides making Angela McArdle chair, is to put Mark Montoni on the Judicial Committee. Because let me tell you something very wise that Mark Montoni once said to Nick. Because Nick used to be a member of the Radical Caucus. most people don't know, Nick used to be a flaming hardcore radical anarchist. Like literally, I'm not exaggerating. But once he became chair, he became a politician. But he, when Mark asked him, why are we not defending the right of the baker in Colorado not to bake the cake? Nick said to him, you can't lead with your chin. And you want to know what Mark said to him? And I'll never forget this. It's one of the wisest words I have ever heard. Mark said, sometimes that is the only way you can lead. And I'll never, ever forget that. Paul, I don't think you believe that because I'm a flaming anarchist and I don't think you think I'm a hypocrite. Maybe you do. I don't think you think, though. Maybe you think I'm an exception to the rule, and that's okay. I don't require my friends to agree with me on everything, but I consider myself a pretty flaming anarchist. But wow, that statement of Mark Montoni's changed my life, I think. That sometimes the only way you can lead is with your chin. And I would hope that my service this past year is, and thank you, Paul, and that's okay. You know, as I said, we don't have to agree on everything. You know how I am. I'm like that. Like, I'm pretty chill about that. I just wanted to be pretty open. I hope I've exemplified that in the past year where I was willing to give up the thing at the time, most precious to me, that I was willing to lead with my chin. And I think Mark Montoni was absolutely right that sometimes that's the only way you can lead. But Nick took the coward's way out. And like, I have so many people in this party I respect. Some of them are hardcore anarchists. Some of them are hardcore moderates, if that's even a thing. Like, I don't know, that's kind of like jumbo shrimp, isn't it? But I mean, some of them are just like as moderate as they come. But they are principled. But they are principled people. Like, they're principally pragmatic. Like, take someone like Dustin Nana. Dustin Nana is not a radical, but there's few people in the party I respect more than Dustin Nana. You know, you don't have to agree with me on everything. I so agree with the Ginger Jesus, Michael Heiss, when he said, we do not have we slightly have a problem with principles in this party, but that's not the major problem we have in this party. Isn't an ideological problem. It's a character problem. I will take 1,000 moderates with principles and integrity and character to an asshole anarchist I don't agree with that has no principles or character.
We always want more individual freedom. That is our priority. That is fundamentally not what the rest of politics is about. That's all about increasing government control. Even if you have to give somebody a little individual freedom as a trade-off, you still want more control. We want less. Once people get that, that resonates with them. When you put it into terms about their own life, that we are fundamentally different, and then you get away from this stupid left-right paradigm of is it conservative or is it progressive? It doesn't matter. It's freedom versus government. It's you run your life versus someone else runs your life. That's the only spectrum we care about. And on some issues, you're with
I'm sorry, I got to make a spectrum joke. I have re-privilege, okay? I will claim my autistic privilege. That's not the only spectrum we care about, Nick. We're all on the spectrum. I am absolutely convinced. By the way, I'm going to take this interlude because I'm always just curious. And I know most people think the Myers-Briggs test is absolute bullshit. I don't care. I'm into it more for fun, you know? But everyone here who knows what their Myers-Briggs initialism is, stick it in chat, because nearly every libertarian I've ever met who knows their Myers-Briggs initialism is either an INTJ or an INFJ? If you happen to know what you are, stick it in chat. I'd be very curious.
Left on that. And on some issues, we're at the right. And on some issues, like cannabis legalization or, at this point, open immigration, we're not with either of them because they're both wrong. We need to take advantage of those things and really hit on those issues where we resonate with the communities that we live in.
Wow, Ryan, that's unusual.
There is within the party these other political spectra.
I flip between INFJ and INTJ, by
radical
the way.
and pragmatist, right? Are you over on the radical side or the pragmatic side? There's a political spectrum within the party. Are you an anarchist that wants no government? Or are you a minarchist that wants a lot less government? Where do you fall on that spectrum? There are people in the party that spend an inordinate and, I think, unproductive amount of time figuring out where we're at on these two spectra.
Squire to a
They
fellow
fight over it.
INFJ.
There is a third spectrum that I think might be slightly more important. And that is the spectrum between, are you a nice person or are you a jerk?
You're a jerk, Nick.
Or
I've
insert
answered
your
the question for
favorite
you.
synonym for jerk. I don't care. If you want more freedom on any issue and you're willing to identify as libertarian.
Boy, he seems to be really defending the Jeremy Kaufmans of the world here, Nick. I didn't realize you were such a Jeremy Kaufman fan. You're surprising me, Sir Sarwark.
I don't care where you are on any of these spectra, radical, pragmatist, anarchist, minarchist, left, right, do not care. Could not
Yeah,
care.
you do.
I want you up here at nice, and I don't want you down here at jerk.
Because you want to
Because I
monopolize
can
jerk
teach
all to
A
yourself.
nice person how to be more libertarian. I can take a nice minarchist and turn him into an anarchist. They're still nice. I can teach a jerk to be libertarian all day, but all he does is go and yell at other libertarians and drive them out of the party.
Like you are?
It's a lot harder to change that. You get what you tolerate, you get what you recruit for. So recruit for kindness first. We'll teach him about issues later.
You mean kindness like purging
There are
people
orphan issues
for
right
signing
now.
a
The big
petition?
one right now is spending cuts. There is no political party in this country other than ours that wants to reduce the amount of money that is taken from you that is spent by the government. Not one. There is not one. There are maybe a handful of congressmen and senators who sometimes kind of almost stand up for that, and they are viciously beaten by their own party, and they are in a dead end, and they should leave. But, I don't run their lives, and they're allowed to keep beating their head against a brick wall as long as they want. Just don't get in my way. We can run on that because there is a pension crisis, because government is running out of money, because politicians whose solution is only give me more money because I need more money because I spent all the money that you gave me are not and have not ever really been popular with people. There is nobody standing up for the right of free migration.
Okay, I'm stopping here for 1 second. Oh my God, this speech is way more boring at the end than I remembered. The lobster part was pretty good. The hypocrisy was pretty good. But, dude, you need an editor. Because this is like... There's 17 minutes left in this thing, and it should have ended 10 minutes ago. Now, on his part about it's more important to recruit decent people, and we can make them more libertarian, I actually agree with him on that. It's just that he doesn't follow his own words here, because he's the biggest jerk in the party right now. But my God, dude, you need an editor. Now, I know you weren't feeling well this night, but you were allotted an hour to speak. So I have a feeling, if I remember this lobster speech from the other conventions, it was always this long. But oh my God, dude, it's fucking boring. But we're gonna power through this. We're gonna power through this, if only to have my whoring on the screen for donations for another 17 minutes.
in this country. The Democrats, I mean, people say that we're not serious politicians. The level of political incompetence of Chuck Schumer in giving up DACA that had something like 86% national polling support. 86% national polling support for not deporting kids who were brought here by their parents. 86%. And controlled the keys to the government shutting down. You cannot be dealt better cards in politics than having an 86% issue and the ability to turn off the money. It can't happen. And what did he do? He negotiated away a 3-week extension for the willingness to talk about it. And they talked about it. And did it make it into the $1.3 trillion omnibus? It did not. It did not. They're not serious political strategists. They're serious about retaining power. But we can be more effective political strategists because we can go to those issues where there is that support and stand up and speak truth and get people on our sides. Cannabis legalization still there. And free trade. There is no free trade party anymore. It's just an argument over which businesses you're gonna pick. We can talk about those issues, but in all of these issues, you have to talk about them in ways that resonate with the community that you're running in. Whether it's the country, the state, the district, the county, the city, whatever. You have to talk about them in ways that it makes lives better for people in your community. And if you can't figure that out, ask somebody. We have people on staff who will help you if you're a candidate. We will help. There are ways to talk about everything that resonates. There's ways, to talk about everything that will turn off even a person who agrees with you. Don't do the latter. When you go out, I want you to fight hard, but I want you to be kind. And that goes double for your opponents. Debates, as Larry pointed out, are not about the people on the stage. They are about the people who are listening. You cannot lose the moral high ground, and the first way to lose the moral high ground is to attack other people. You have to be nice to your opponents. You have to be the nicest one in the room. You attack positions, you don't attack people. You don't say,
Objection, speculative.
Sitting congressman is a terrible human being because he wants to, lock up black people and I think he's terrible. You say, I don't think that the 40, 50, 60 years, however long we are in it now, of the racist war on drugs has been effective, but this congressman thinks that it would be a good idea to incarcerate another generation of African-American men, taking them out of their communities, making it so they can't parent, making it so they can't get housing and they can't get good jobs, in order to pursue a failed strategy with your money. So I'll let him explain why he thinks that's a good idea. I didn't say anything mean about him. He's a wonderful human being, I'm sure. He might be wrong about this particular issue, but let's give him an opportunity. Let's let him talk. We need to fight that frame that we're the weird ones. We're the only sensible ones. And when you speak truth, Maj Touré, who runs Black Guns Matter, which is a really cool group.
Get his name out of your mouth.
Go and speak your truth and expose the contradictions in the other side. Not with any animosity. You just show where the holes are, where it breaks down and doesn't get them to the goals that they're trying to get to.
God,
and
Jesus,
say,
make it stop.
If we can agree that that's not
Sweet
working,
baby Jesus in a manger.
could we agree
make it
that it might be a good idea to
stop.
try something new? Could we? It's audience participation. Come on. I've been working my vote. We haven't been elected to this office before, so wouldn't it be trying something new to vote for a libertarian? Let's try something new this time. If it doesn't work, hey, I'll quit.
No, they didn't get seated as delegates at their own state or multiple other states.
I used to have a different speech where I talked about this. You have to pick things up by the right
And technically,
handle.
Ohio has broken their
You
own
can't
rules by
pick up
seating Nick
the cup
ahead of
going
convention.
out
But
and
to me,
running
it's
as a
almost a
libertarian
distinction
candidate
without a
with
difference
not high odds of success.
because they would have
with
seated him at
the handle
convention
of you're a
anyway.
losing loser who
And I don't
loses,
believe in
and you're
majoring
gonna
in the
lose.
minors.
And so why are you even bothering? Because you're going to lose. And why would anyone vote for you? Because you're going to lose. Why are you losing? You losing loser. That is the handle that our opponents would like us to pick up the cup by, because it hurts. And when it hurts enough, eventually you get discouraged. But if you pick up the handle that there are people in my community, in my town, in my city, that want something better for their kids and their grandkids, who are
Next
fed up
weekend
with
by
the way
y'all
things have been
is the JC
run,
appeal
we need a voice for them and
for
their ideas.
the
And when I go
wrongly
out and I
expelled
put on that
people in
jersey that says
Massachusetts.
Libertarian, just like when somebody puts on a football jersey, you carry the hopes and dreams for that election of every person that thinks like us. You give them hope that they're not alone. You touch their lives in ways that you can't even understand. And when you pick it up by that handle, you can run over and over and over again. And I will.
Yeah, I like to stop this occasionally. If Paul Lynch is tomorrow is the fake llama convention. Whitney is speaking at that convention, which is entirely fucking inappropriate for the National Party chair. She shouldn't. And to be honest with you, even though I think the other convention is a legitimate one, it's fucking inappropriate for any LNC member to be speaking at either of them. But she's not only speaking at a convention that wrongfully expelled 47 people, and I didn't know Joe was. Shame on her. But they are also platforming in an adjacent state a Republican that is running against a Libertarian. It is, you're right, it's gross. It's just gross. And here's the thing, if you all looked at that cowardly Phillips motion on the list, which is just so embarrassing, and the fact that he says a parliamentarian gave him that language, he either A, misunderstood that parliamentarian, B, got that parliamentarian on Wish, or C, he's a liar. That no parliamentarian gave him that opinion. You want to know what's not being mentioned? Remember what I told you yesterday? The chair of the Candidate Support Committee on the national level is working for the campaign of a Republican that is running against a Libertarian candidate in New Hampshire. Of course, John Phillips doesn't mention that. He's got to engage in a social media kangaroo court. Ryan Brown, I do not believe there was any kind of credentialed parliamentarian that gave him that opinion. Just as part of the code of conduct of parliamentarians, if it was a parliamentarian that was actually credentialed and I knew who it was, I would have a private conversation with that person. I would not be publicly disparaging them, but he did not give a name. That opinion is so bad that I just don't believe him. If he ever gives a name, I will have a private conversation with that person.
I call the old parties, not only because it's a subtle dig, because it is, because it's true. They're old. Not only have they been around longer, but you should go to some of their meetings. They'll die before we quit.
God, this is so boring. I want to die.
I want to give you some sense of optimism. Everything in politics is absolutely true, 100% ground truth. Everyone tells you it's absolutely the way it is until it's not. Everyone said the right way to win a campaign was with direct mail and lots of money and big dollar fundraisers and mass media airdrops until the Obama campaign came in and Issenberg and the data guys went and said,
Stop.
turns out that's not true anymore.
Make it
now you win this way. And they thought, well, we're going to win exactly that way, how he won. So Clinton got all of his people to run the same campaign that he ran in 08 and 12. And it turned out that was no longer the right way to win.
Make it
It
stop.
was this other way. with or without some help from somebody else, who knows? I'm just asking questions.
I need to do Lamaze just to get through this.
The Berlin Wall was an ironclad, solid wall between East and West Germany, and if you tried to cross it, you would be killed. And it was never coming down.
That's what she said.
And it was just a truth. This side of the country and that side of the country are never coming together.
That
It's
was
broken.
for you, Ryan, when you
can't
said,
get through it. It is a wall.
I can't believe
it is a
it's
wall
this
with
long.
snipers on it.
That's what she
And then
said.
one day in 1989, it was 89, right? One day in 1989, a bunch of people just started pulling it down. It was easy. It was Soviet construction, so it wasn't that good. Kind of crumbly, not enough rebar. But they just pulled it down. And when enough people pull it down, the guys on the towers with the sniper rifles are like, I don't have only but so many bullets. And then they give up too. Because, you know, Tank Man in Tiananmen, that's a dude standing in front of a tank. It's a dude standing in front of a tank. And it's in China. And so the ironclad political truth would be, they're going to run that dude down, because why not? They got a tank, he's got shopping bags. Shopping bags don't beat tanks, I think. But they didn't. He didn't know how powerful he was until he stood up.
I know. Not
Who
enough.
is the most
rebar.
important libertarian? You are. It's not me, it's not Larry, it's not Laura. Well, it is for Laura. She is.
Comrades, I figured out our problem. There was not enough rebar.
But it is for John too. He is. You are the most important libertarian. You will be the most important libertarian in most of the people in your life. Most of your neighbors, most of your friends, most of your coworkers, you are the most important libertarian they will ever meet. And if you are good to them and kind to them, and you live your witness, and you don't yell at them, and you don't argue with them, they will become
You
libertarians.
don't call
and
them
they will become the
racists
most
and
important
Nazis,
libertarians.
you mean?
And that's how we grow.
I
I
think
was
he's...
reading some Guy Kawasaki. Do you know who Guy Kawasaki was?
Yeah, Guy
I
Kawasaki.
mean, Larry's read pretty much
Apple.
every leadership and inspirational book known to man. Guy Kawasaki was the chief evangelist for Apple Computer, for the Macintosh project, back during the real heyday of Steve Jobs. And he developed this idea of evangelism versus marketing. The idea that the way you sell IBM or the way you sell Windows is you just saturate people with ads and say, you know, buy this because everyone else is buying it. If you don't buy it, you're stupid, or, you know, it'll make you sexy or whatever. Standard advertising. And he realized that this was a guerrilla product. This was an outsider product. This was the sort of thing that no IT manager was ever going to buy for their employees. He needed a different way. And he would go to companies and he would find people at the lower echelons. And he would get them on fire for the product. He would find the people who would be true believers. He would get them on fire and they would go and they would change the world. They would live and die for the Macintosh. They would have brand loyalty where they would get Apple tattoos on their arms. And they would tell everybody they knew how awesome this computer was, how this would change your life. And that's how they were successful. One of his ideas for evangelism, you're going to meet people who are atheists, and you're going to meet people who are agnostics. Atheist is the person who is a hardcore Windows person. They're never going to buy a Macintosh, they don't care. They're going to fight you about it, and they're going to talk about how it's too expensive, and it's ugly, and blah, 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 blah. The agnostics are going to say, gosh, you know, I don't really know much about a Macintosh. I use an IBM at work, but, you know, what makes it different? Ignore the atheists. Seek the
There's like
agnostics.
10 speeches in this
Agnostics
one
can be
speech.
converted. Atheists sometimes can. I was actually challenged on this the last time I gave this speech. I said, well, I was convinced that libertarianism was terrible, and I got beaten into it. I said, well, I'm very glad that you're here. But as a matter of sales, and numbers, and how many people we all get to talk to in our day, in our life, you would be a lot better off talking to people who are open to our ideas, but skeptical, as opposed to people who already convinced themselves they don't want to be us. This is true in petitioning, this is true in getting votes. One of the best things about voter ID, I don't know if Larry talked about it during ground game, voter ID is identifying voters. Now, you identify the voters who are going to support you because you get them to be volunteers, you get them to put up a sign, you get them to give you money. You identify soft supporters because you go back and ask again, because people get worn down by multiple asks. But one of the most important things to identify in doing voter ID is hardcore supporters of your opponent. Do you know what you do in a well-run campaign with a hardcore supporter of your opponent after you've knocked on the door and identified them as that? You never send them a lit piece. You never have another volunteer knock on their door. You never call them. You never try and get them to put up a sign. You become invisible to them. Because it's
This is very, very torturous.
Galvanizing the
So
people
let's just stop for an interlude here, because I was trying to look for some things. See if it's on my desktop while we were waiting. Maybe it's in my downloads. Let me pull this up bigger. Haha, that's what she said. Where's my recents? Maybe I'm just gonna have to let this play. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I can't find what I wanted to.
And building a false sense of complacency in the people who oppose you. This goes double for libertarians. You don't want to be visible to the people who don't like you. You want them to think, Epke, is she even still running? I have no idea. I haven't heard anything about it. No postcards, nothing. Don't get into fights with people that already are diametrically opposed to us. Bring the people in who are with us on something and help them grow. Help them grow into the new leaders. Good leaders get followers. Great leaders create new leaders. We can build our people up into being that next generation of activists. The last thing I want to leave you with.
Oh God, please make it the last thing.
I talked about how we're not politics in the traditional sense. We're anti-politics. I want to tell you a secret. I don't like everyone in my family.
And I'm sure the feeling is mutual.
That I don't really want to babysit my kids. There are people in my family that have unfriended me on Facebook and I don't like to talk to. There are people in my family that just kind of rub me the wrong way. Well, you know a second secret? I don't like everyone in the Libertarian Party.
And the feeling is definitely mutual.
It's true. Joe knows. It's only Joe, though. Just kidding. But if a member of my family comes over for Thanksgiving dinner, I'm nice to them. I'm kind to them. I pass the potatoes.
You're not nice to people in the LP, Nick.
If a member of my family is locked in jail, I will post bail for them. If they need me, I will help them. Because while I don't like everyone in my family, I love everyone in my family.
Oh, what bullshit. Obligatory clapping.
We are, as a party, focused on individuals, focused on people. We're a fundamentally human party. We're pro-people. We're anti-politics. And in that way, we are a lot more like a family than a party. We're a small family still. We're getting bigger, but not fast enough. And I don't need every one of you in this room to like everyone else in this room. I don't. It'd be better at functions like this if maybe you don't fight and you do actually pass the potatoes. But I don't need you to like
This
each
is
other.
almost over, I promise.
But the one thing I'll ask you for before I leave the stage, I need you all to love each other. I need you to go out there and be there
Sorry.
for each other.
The
I
hypocrisy.
need you to understand that
It's
we are
just
all in this
too much.
together. That we are too small to excommunicate people from the family. That everyone has value.
Are you now on the side of the
All of
expelled
us have a
47
place.
in Massachusetts, Nick?
These are the
I am looking
people
forward to your
who will be
amicus
there for
brief
you
to the Judicial
if you'll be
Committee
there for them.
condemning the actions of
Love each
the
other.
purgers.
Be well. And thank you so much for listening.
God, I didn't think it would ever be over. This was like a level of Dante's Inferno. Oh my God. Well, we got lots of hypocrisy there, didn't we? Didn't we, girls? We got a lot, but I wanted to show you something cool. He did mention Guy Kawasaki. Those of you who are Apple freaks the way I am, you may not know that the startup music, there's a whole story behind the startup music with Guy Kawasaki, where copyright had come into play, but the original startup music for the Mac, he ended up entitled So Sue Me. But of course he said it, like So Sue Me. But I want to show you that I had met Guy Kawasaki. How did I say that? God, watching Nick for this has made me addled. I met Guy at Macworld, probably 2011. I want to show you the picture. Let me see if I can pull that on the screen. Here is me and Guy Kawasaki. He is such a cool person, and that smile is just so wonderful. So, yeah, I was pulling that up of me and Guy Kawasaki at Macworld. Alrighty, I think that's it. I think we've had enough. I think I've tortured you enough. I need to pull back up my comment screen now to make sure there's nothing I need to address. Say Wista. Wista. Oh my God. All right. Well, I think that is probably going to be it for this evening. Actually, it's not going to be it for this evening. I'm going to talk very... hold on. I'm reading my emails. Apparently one of the purgers already quit, the bad Massachusetts, the fake Massachusetts party. I'm going to have to read that email later. Can't read it while I'm on the air here because I need to put on my glasses because I'm getting old. But there again at the bottom, if you choose to assist, is my Venmo. I would super, super appreciate it. I'm going to probably do a video from upstairs talking about John Phillips' cowardly motion, and that will be probably the only thing I will end up saying on that whole debacle, and for reasons that I'll say why upstairs. I'm getting to the point though where I'm getting well enough in my COVID recovery. I don't have an excuse to not put on makeup soon. I know I'm looking a little haggard right now. And Ryan Brownson, I sent you another Twitter DM with another weird picture. I love me some weird pictures. If you couldn't tell by the thumbnail for this video, I love me some weird pictures. All right, everyone. That is it for this evening. And there was a super chat earlier that I forgot to thank. Thank you so much for. I was in such torture from that keynote. My God, I never want to hear that again. But now you've heard Nick's Lobster speech. And if you did not realize what a big flopping hypocrite he was, the more you know. Duh. All right, everyone. I still do need to update my Patreon closing screen, and you can help me out by having me only edit it once by becoming a patron now at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. Bye-bye.
Gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians, or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business, not because they want to